Hello, lovelies. So I thought I'd do a journal update, seeing as it is the 8th. And technically I still don't have a journal for 2023. So, what happened was I went through all my books and I decided to just go with the regular journal. Oh, actually, let's backtrack a bit. I did a video earlier, actually no, it would have been late last year, so a couple weeks ago, about prepping and trying to decide what kind of journal I want to use for 2023. I journal, okay, I attempt to journal every day. I don't, but I have a journal. I've kept a journal since 2013, a daily journal. This is last year's set. These are my last two from last year. Throughout the years, I've had many different versions. I will link that video so you can see what I'm talking about. We don't need to go into it again. But basically, I hadn't decided on what kind of journal I want to use for 2023. In the end, I went through my books and I found this one. I've had this for a while. I love this book. So I thought, you know what? I need a journal. Let's just use this one. And then I thought, but I love the junk journals. I really do. I did love the year I used the junk journals. And it did get me being more creative because it wasn't just paper to write on. It was all different things. And in that video that I will link below, you'll see that in those junk journals, it was more colorful, it was more creative. I just liked it more. So I started making a junk journal just before we went on holiday. I didn't get it finished, but I liked the size. Now in comparison, here we go. So in comparison to, it's bigger. And so I love the size of it. I thought this would be great. It's a lot, like it's thin, but I loved the size of it. I thought this would be a nice journal. And then I didn't get it finished, but obviously with the intention, if I'm going to use it, I'm going to need a couple of those because it's very thin. Then I had another idea. So I will have to sort of off track a little bit, but it'll make sense. I thought about using this as a journal. Now, it's fatter than any book I've ever used to make a journal. Generally, when I make junk journals, they're books no thicker than this. I've never had a very thick one, and I thought this would make a great journal for the year. I turned it into a junk journal. It would be thicker, and I wouldn't need as many for the year. One, maybe two, and I'd get the year in junk journals. Now, another reason I want to use this is because this is one of my favorite books. And you may be saying, why on earth would you turn one of your favorite books into a junk journal? Simple answer, because I now have 2 copies of it. So, I'm a big reader. I love books. I love turning them into journals, but I love reading. I always have. And I'm a big Matthew Reilly fan. Matthew Reilly writes us about a character. Buses. Matthew Reilly has a character, Shane Schofield, Scarecrow, and my mum once bought me the 4th book in the series, and her theory was she bought me the biggest, fattest book she could find, hoping it would last me longer. And it was Scarecrow, which is, I think, the 4th book in the series, and I devoured it, and it started my love of Matthew Reilly's Scarecrow books. I am very loyal when it comes to authors. I like certain characters. I tend to not want to start another series because I like the character I started with. I'm weird, I know. So I went back and got all of those books, read them in order again, and Scarecrow was my Matthew Reilly. And then Matthew Reilly started writing about a character, Jack West, and that was the 7 Ancient Wonders. I refused to read it because it wasn't a Scarecrow book, so I didn't. My husband bought it for me because he knows I like books, he knows I like Matthew Reilly. I never read it. It sat on my bookshelf for a few years, 7 and 6 Sacred Stones, and it sat on my bookshelf. And I refused to read it because Jack West wasn't Scarecrow, and I thought, when's he going to write a Scarecrow book? I told you, I'm a little weird. But then hubby has a workmate who's a reader as well, and he's like, have you read the 4th one? Because by now we've gone through, so the Jack West books go from 7 through to 1, and so 5 Greatest Warriors came out, which is this book here, and then the 4 Legendary Kingdoms. He's like, have you read it yet? And I'm like, no, I don't read them, And he's like, but Scarecrow's in the 4th one, yes? I'm like, hang on, go back. Scarecrow is in the 4th Jack West story, which is the one I'm actually reading now. He's like, Scarecrow's a character, and do you want, So, obviously, to read that, because Scarecrow's in it, I had to go and then read the Jack West series, starting at 7 Ancient Wonders. From the minute I cracked that book, I was a convert. It's a fantastic series, it really is. And I adore it. So it made me a Jack West fan. I read 7, 6, 5, and then of course I got to read 4 when Scarecrow's in it, and yeah, it was a great book. And then I was caught up. So he hadn't yet written 3, 2, or 1. I own 3, 2, and 1, but I haven't read them. So I hate cliffhangers. I hate having to stop at a book. So I didn't read through. I got it for Christmas. I didn't read it because I thought I'll wait till the second one comes out. And then next thing you know, they're all out and I haven't read them. So I have not yet read... What's 3? 3... The three lost. Oh, I can't remember. I say 3, 2, and 1. So 3, 2. The one Impossible Labyrinth is the last one. They're on the top of my head. But yeah, so I haven't read them. It's been a few years now, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to read them. But I can't just pick up 3, 2, and then 1. So I had to start reading them again. So I picked up 7 Ancient Wonders, read that. I'm a very quick reader, so this week alone I've read 7, 6, and 5, and I've just started 4. So the thing is, at the time, this is how I bought it, because I got it from an op shop and it didn't come with its lovely dust cover. Now, like I said, I'm a reader. I will have to show you a picture of my my bookshelf, and everything's nice and pretty. You know, I have the entire Jack West series and they've all got their dust covers and they look beautiful, except book 5. It came like this. It doesn't have a dust cover. So I thought, you know what? I've seen it at the op shop. I'm going to go get myself another copy from the op shop, and then it'll have its dust cover, and then I will have a spare copy. And that's when I decided to turn this spare copy into my next journal. So I don't need 2 copies of the same book. I finished reading this one yesterday. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to turn it into my next journal. A bit of a long-winded tangent, I know, but it does sort of go with the story. So this is the first time I've done a journal with a book this big, this fat, this thick. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, so because I have not yet, and see, look, I get to keep these in there too. I'll try and find a way to keep them in there. So that's what I love about Matthew Riley's books. A lot of his books are, all of his books have drawings and sketches and things relating to the story. So yeah. So tangent, you know, this I'm going to turn into my journal. So it is this, what did I say, the 8th? So I really need to get started on it. I was talking to Steph the other day, the lovely Scrappy Steph from Kidaholic Kits, and she was asking if I'd decided on a journal yet. And I'm like, no, not yet. She goes, oh, it's only the 4th. You know, not like you're behind or anything. I'm always behind, but especially with the readings, there's drawings and things, and I love some of the drawings, and I'm like, oh, I want to put that on my journal page. I don't have a journal yet. So I need to finish this so I can have a journal. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to finish this off, and then I thought I would share with you how I make a junk journal. So we'll turn it into a video. What do you think? All right, so that's my update for now, and I will get started on putting this together. So let's crack it in. Let's have a go. All right.
Okay, so I've ended up doing this video in 2 parts, and part 1 I'm going to show you how I get the journal ready and how I just make my cover, really. So I'm cutting out the inside of the book. Now, there's usually a little gap between the cover and the chunk of the book, and I just run a knife down there, and then you'll see it just comes out nice and easily, and voila, I've got a big chunk of paper, and then I've got my cover. There's a few pieces of paper. Usually I cut these out, but like I said, I was trying to keep these sides intact. I end up taking them out because it's just not practical, because I do like to reinforce the spine. So as you can see right now, the spine is raw because normally there's pages there. What I like to do when I make a journal is, because I'm going to be stitching through, stitching my signatures in to the spine, I don't like to leave it looking like this. I don't like it. So I generally get a piece of cardstock or a piece of pattern paper or just something just to cover that up. Normally I have, I'll show you on a different journal that I make. Normally I put pattern paper on the inside as well. So where these 2 pieces are already, because I'm using them for my journal to sort of, because I like the look of it, normally I cover the entire inside of the journal. So where these pictures of the 5 greatest warriors are, normally I'd have pattern paper there, and then I would put a different piece of pattern paper in the middle to, yeah, cover up that raw chipboard on the spine. But because I'm keeping them, I've just decided to just, yeah, I'm just going to put something to reinforce the spine. So because of the colour, normally I would go pattern paper, but in this case I'm actually going to get a piece of paper out of the book and I'm going to use that. Now, because it just goes with it. I've done this once before on a journal I've made. I tend to sort of, yeah, match my colours. And in this case, because of the pictures of the 5 greatest warriors, because they are that sepia tone, that older looking tone, using a piece of paper from the book actually works quite well. So it's not so much about reinforcing the spine as just covering up the raw chipboard. So this works really well. So what I do is I use gel matte medium and a silicone brush. I find the silicone brush just helps it spread better. And then I'm just going to apply it down the middle. And then I'm going to put that piece of book paper in there, line it up with the pieces on the side, and it's going to cover up that middle quite nicely. I just don't like the look of raw chipboard. That's the only reason I do it. You don't have to do this, obviously, but I just, when I make a junk journal, like a different journal, you'll see what I mean when I use different paper. So normally I do pattern paper on the sides and then a different color pattern paper in the middle. It just, I don't know, just one, it just makes it look really nice and neat. And two, just the pattern papers I use are just nice and bright. In this case, it's just using it to cover up that chipboard, that's all. So I do make sure to score all those little bumps and ridges really well. One, it makes sure all the paper is adhered properly, but two, it just helps put those ridges. I like the look of a book spine. I'm just weird like that. So I like to make sure that I score those little ridges and bumps so that the paper adheres to it inside those ridges. And so that when I cover the outside, because I do cover the outside spine once I have finished stitching all my signatures in, I'll do the same thing. And I just like to score the paper right into those ridges so you can really, yeah, it really adheres really well, but also so it just gives that look of a book. It's hard to explain, but yeah. Anyway, so that's me making the cover. So in part 2, I will put all my signatures together and I'll stitch it all up. So come back soon for that. Bye for now.